This is a pretty complicated topic in software engineering. We refer to it as system design and system architecture. And it's something that the Mag 7 companies, all the FANG companies, spend a lot of time thinking about and have invested a lot of resources and energy over the years making their systems performant so that they can serve 50 million users a day, hundreds of millions of users a day. And so these are some of the concepts that you should be thinking about as you're growing your Claude app. And it's something that's essential because if you hopefully are able to turn your app into a sustainable, scalable business, these are problems that you're gonna run into. I'm a software engineer. I've been in the industry for about 6 years and I work at a Mag 7 company, so I've seen a variety of these problems that you might run into and the different scaling challenges. So I think the number one most important thing for you to conceptualize when you're thinking about scaling and why this is important is that behind the scenes, when you deploy your app to Vercel, it is assigning a domain name to it, and basically everyone else in the world, like me in New York, someone else in London, someone else in San Francisco, they're going on their little laptops and they're typing in a website, right? When they are typing in a website and hitting enter, what they're ultimately doing is hitting a machine somewhere that is hosting your website. And this you don't need to worry about because Vercel has done this already for you behind the scenes. But at the end of the day, your website is being hosted on a machine somewhere in the world. So knowing that your website is being hosted on a machine somewhere in the world, think about what happens on your personal laptop. Let's say you have a million apps open on your laptop. You have Word open, you have Spotify open, you have like 5,000 Chrome tabs open, you're on FaceTime. You can imagine that Chrome would be slowing down when this is happening. Maybe Spotify is buffering, and at a certain point, there's not a limitless number of applications that you can have running on your laptop at a given time. The reason for that is because there's compute limitations and there's memory limitations, and these are basically just physical constraints that exist on a laptop. So now that you have that mental picture in mind, that same concept is happening for the machine that is hosting your website. So, okay, let's say you have 1,000 people accessing your website at the same time. It's not a big deal. We have developed enough technology at this point in time that it will be able to handle. When you get to 50,000 users, however, it's a very different challenge. It's a much larger load that you're placing on this single machine. And so that is where you need to start being smart about how you're scaling things. Even more importantly, let's say you're using an AI-backed application. For example, maybe you have a chat interface that's calling OpenAI under the hood, or you're doing something that's using large language models in some capacity. I'm assuming because you're hosting a web app, it's not going to be locally stored because that would be kind of insane. You're probably using an API endpoint. You're probably using Anthropic's APIs or OpenAI APIs. And so at the scale of 50,000 users, the cost of those tokens can really scale. Obviously, the models are becoming cheaper and cheaper, so it's becoming less of an issue. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm assuming that you're doing this on the side, or this might be a new business that you're starting up. You might want to be saving money unless you've raised a large seed round or something like that. To that end, I think the number one most important thing for you to think about when you're scaling is how can I cache things? So the concept of a cache is basically like instead of doing a net new request every time, you establish a cache and store information. So let's say user requests, hey, I'm gonna buy this dress and I wanna know the price of that dress. It makes that initial request, right? When you send back that initial request, you store it in the cache. And so that time when another user, user B, says, okay, I want that dress too, I'm gonna look that up, instead of making the net new request, it hits the cache and the cache already has that value stored and it comes back. So, I mean, with most APIs, the cost will vary, but let's say at the end, the API that you're hitting is actually a large language model, and that can have costs, as we know. If you're taking that generated LLM response and storing it here, you can be saving money. But also more importantly, it can be a faster experience because when you're doing all these requests, they're traveling over the network, and each of these network requests have a lot of latency. There's so many other concepts that become relevant, especially if you're going from 50K to 100K, that go beyond caching. Caching is like probably the simplest example that could come to mind. Load balancing, horizontal scaling, database indexing, message queues, how do you handle streaming? Like there's so many topics, so I'm happy to talk through any of them. Let me know what's relevant to you, but this is kind of a primer that I wanted to get and explain to all of you. And this is also what's going to be I was gonna like do my nighttime routine. I'm supposed to take off my makeup right now because I just got back from going out and I got so caught up in my explanation I couldn't do it. But yeah, all right, you got this. I believe in you. We want to see the stuff you're building. You just need to scale it.